the entry of former President Jonatan to 27 presidential election is already known to everybody, both in Nigeria and all over the world. That's what we are considering now in a new dimension, because we already knew President Jonathan has signified his interest to run for 2027 presidential election. But the way it came now, it came in a new dimension. That new dimension is what we want to discuss. Now it has been confirmed that former President Jonathan is running on PDP. Yes, it's already established, it's already a fact now that's running in 2027 presidential election. Though there's a case of his eligibility still going on in Federal High Court, notwithstanding, it's already a known fact now that President Jonathan is running in 2027 presidential election. But the issue we are discussing is the new dimension to it. And what is the new dimension? Former President Jonathan signifies interest on a faction of PDP, which is being led by Turaki, Alhaji Turaki. That is the Sheikh Makinde faction, the present governor of Oyo State. The faction being led by Sheikh Makinde, which held their convention in Ibadan, that went through court process, court through trial, and up to the Supreme Court, the convention was nullified. That is the faction where President Jonathan has signified interest. That's where he pitches tent with, where he has shown interest to run for presidential election in 2027. I believe you know quite all right, just to let our viewers all over the world know the current situation of PDP in Nigeria. PDP has two factions. First faction is being led by Sheikh Makinde, President Governor of Oyo State, where Turaki is their national leader of the party, a faction of that. And that's where former President Jonathan, that's where it's coming. That's the side of PDP is signifying his interest. The other faction is the one being led by Minister of FCC, Federal Capital Territory, News on Wiki, which claimed they are the authentic PDP leadership, just by the virtue that the caretaker committee of the party, which is overseeing the affairs of the party, align with them. They align with Wiki, such that Wiki was able to make use of them to perpetuate, to assume that they are the leadership of their party. So now the issue is that Wiki claiming that the leadership that's recognized by INEC, another person blaming the other faction, is a waste of time. And now former President Jonathan is exercising his right under the faction of Sheikh Makinde, the other faction of the PDP, which is led by Turaki, Alhaji Turaki, one of the other who are prominent politicians. The issue now is that Wike claimed they are even sending their own presidential form to aspirants from their own camp who vie for presidency of PDP. And their faction is the one that is recognized by INEC as authentic leader. And any other person, whoever that goes to the other faction to go and vie for any post, is a waste of time. Now the issue now is that former President Jonathan has shown his interest in the side of Sheikh Makinde, like I've said, the Turkey-led faction, and not in the side of the one that Wike faction is belong, not from the side of Wike faction. What now happens? Does it mean that the tickets being sought by former President Jonathan under Sheikh Makinde faction will be null and void, since is not vying for the interest of presidency, is not seeking the case under the faction that Wike belongs, and Wike claim they are the rightful leadership of the party, going by the internal, the in-house the in-house caretaker committee that is overseeing the party. It is that they are the one who align with Wike to make sure that according to him, don't forget they had their congresses across the states, they even had their convention, and they claim they have been recognized by the INEC. Does that mean that now that President Jonathan is buying tickets of PDP under the other faction. Does it mean Wike will also present? That means Wike was, according to him, they have already screened people that will come out as presidential aspirants under their own faction of the party of PDP. Does it mean that PDP will have two candidates? That's exactly what it's going to mean. Jonatan coming up from the faction of Seyi Makinde and another aspirant that may emerge from the faction of Wike. That means PDP will have two candidates. Then the issue now is that which one will INEC recognize, which one will INEC take side with? Will it, according to Wike, will it take side with the one that will come out from the Wike's camp? The president aspirant that will come out from the okay, now the aspirant, if he emerge as other Wike can become the candidate, is it the one that INEC will receive, or the former president Jonatan that came from the other faction of the PDP, of the Seyi faction? Which of these two candidates that the INEC will now accept as the authentic candidate of PDP in 2027 presidential election? This is the matter we are considering. Now, can Wike resist the emergence of former President Jonatan in the other camp as his presidential PDP candidate to represent to INEC? Does Wike have the guts? Does he have the wherewithal to make sure that the candidature of former President Jonatan from the other camp is not accepted by INEC? Does Wike has the guts? Does he have the power? Does he have the strength to make sure that comes into place? Does he have the power to make sure that comes into being? Knowing fully that his own candidate that will emerge from his own faction will also be forwarded to INEC. Will Wike have his way in blocking INEC from recognizing Jonatan as a PDP candidate from other camp, from the other faction of the PDP? Will Wike have the guts? Will he be able to do that? Will he be able to test his capacity with that of the former President Jonatan? And then what will INEC do? Which side will INEC belong? Because we claim INEC is already recognized him as leadership of the party. Does it mean it is the only candidate emerging from the faction of Wike that the INEC will recognize? They will dump, they will not accept the candidature of former President Jonatan from the other camp. Is that what the INEC will do? Will the INEC do that? And then will the INEC have the guts to ignore former President Jonatan and said he came from another camp of PDP? Will the INEC have the guts to do that? Will the INEC have the capacity to do that? Will the INEC be in a position to do that? Will they reject former President Jonatan candidature from other faction of the PDP? Will they accept the one from Wike's faction of PDP as the president candidate of PDP in 2027? This is what we are considering. This is what we are putting to Nigerians, locally and internationally, to know the current situation of what is going on in PDP. The candidature of Jonatan is not endorsed by the two factions. It's only a factional side, the Seyi Makinde faction, that had a convention in Ibadan that expelled Wike, on which they lost the case from High Court to Supreme Court, and Court nullified the convention. Now left with the critical committee, but the critical committee, like I explained, have aligned with Wike faction to make sure INEC recognize Wike faction. So the issue is, like we have said before, will the INEC recognize the candidates that will come from Wike's faction, and will not recognize the candidates of former President Jonatan from another faction? Or what will INEC do? What will be the fate of Jonatan in case that INEC did not recognize him, saying that he might from another faction which was recognized by INEC? Will INEC have the guts to do that? Or will they recognize the one that Wike faction will produce to INEC? This is the issue we are considering, and we are hoping that INEC will be able to do the just. INEC it's an umpire, they must not take side. Where Wike has claimed they have been recognized already. Their name is on the INEC report, as was the name of their name of the official of PDP of his own fashion. It's already on INEC portals. They are the one that INEC recognizes. That means the only candidate that comes from their fashion as president candidate is the one INEC will recognize, will receive, and not that of former Jonatan, who is buying from another fashion. The another question we want to examine is this: can Jonatan himself, with his clouds and everything from president, will he be able to conquer? Or yes, that's what I wish for. He will be able to subdue and overrule bring Wike to reasoning, to align with him. Will he be able to Pastor Wike to save the idea of another person emerging from his camp as presidential candidate, and his own faction of the PDP endorsing him, Jonathan. Jonathan was able to do that. No, if Wike was his boy, he was a former minister under him, and then it was through the digest, was through the goodwill of President Jonathan that Wike was become a governor. Jonathan fought for him, and it's a good book of Jonathan. It's a good book of Jonathan. A book. So Wike will be able to serve his own factional interest of presenting presidential candidates and align with former President Jonathan, so that the two factions will now unite and present former President Jonathan as presidential candidates of the party. PDP in 2027, the two factions will be able to unite together and present former President Jonathan as the candidate to be presented to INEC 2027, or we Jonathan himself will be able to persuade, will be able to mediate between the two factions and bring them together, so that two of them will endorse him as special candidates of this party 2020 of PDP 2027. This is the issue we have considered. I want people to understand that this is the current situation of things. Jonathan coming to the presidency under PDP 2027 is still presently a factional endorsement. It's not totally to PDP, like I said, like I've explained before. So we are hoping that maybe Jonathan himself will be able to persuade or reconcile the two factions together, so that both of them will endorse him, or Wike will succumb to endorsing former President Jonathan, so that his faction and Shebekiri faction will both unite and present former President Jonathan as his formula, as one candidate that both can present to INEC as a PDP presidential candidates in 2027. If this is done, then President Jonathan could be assured that his endorsement by a faction is not just a faction, and that the two sides has agreed. Until this is achieved, that's when the candidature of former President Jonathan could be established as PDP candidates. Otherwise, remain a factional, endorsement, a factional aspiration under a faction of PDP of Shebekiri, which is not yet agreed to by the faction of in the years of Wike of PDP. This is the fact we want our viewers, our subscribers, our Nigerians over the world to know. Look at the international to know the current situation of the aspiration of former President Jonathan in PDP now is not yet Uhuru for him. Number two, what was his court case of eligibility that's still going on in the court. Anyway, the High Court said they said by May 31st they will pronounce the judgment on that, whether it's qualified to run, it's not qualified to run, whether it's eligible to run. Anyway, it's qualified to run as Nigerian. Whether it's eligible now, not qualified, like, because it's qualified to run as Nigerian, but whether it's eligible, the court will pronounce his eligibility, having taken office out of office 2 times in the past. Formerly 2 years of remaining, the 2 years of former President former Musa Yar'Adua, and his subsequent another 4 years, the court will rule whether he has eligibility to contest the presidency in 2027. Notwithstanding, don't forget, if he loses at court, if he loses at Jonathan loses at the High Court, that matter will start to pursue to the Supreme Court and see the final determination of that matter. But meanwhile, you can see the pursuit separation on PDP. But we are just considering that with the two factions of the party of PDP, which is not where former President Jonathan is expressing is coming out from the PDP, rather is coming out from the Shebekiri faction. Can they be able to come together unitedly and unity wise endorse his candidate, so that the two factions of the party will now speak in one voice and say, yes, we have agreed. Former President Jonathan is the one we are putting forward. We have all agreed, both two factions are endorsing. That's what we are talking about. And it's only when they do this that the candidature of former President Jonathan can be said to be valid, to be sustained, to be valid, to be completely safe, because the two factions have not endorsed. But presently, it is still a factional endorsement, still a factional aspiration. It's not yet the two factions to come together, particularly when Wike said their own faction is already recognized by INEC as leader of the PDP, as PDP. So therefore, anybody coming from another faction to represent PDP will not be recognized by INEC and will not be recognized by them. That means, until this is done, the two factions have to come together and present Goodluck Jonathan as the authentic candidate. That is where his candidature can be valid, can be said to be completely sound and according to the law. Because the party must present, the whole party, the leadership of the party must unitedly present an aspirant forward as a candidate to the INEC, and not sectional and not factional. Anything factional will not stand. The law will not recognize it. And double extension will not be accepted by INEC. That is, if Wike submits a president candidate to INEC and the other faction of Shemaki also submits the name of former President Goodluck Jonathan to INEC, INEC will not take it until two of them come together and unite and make sure that the name of President Goodluck Jonathan is correctly agreed upon. Both of them must agree upon this, and then present it forward as the candidates of PDP for 2027 presidential election. That is when the candidacy of Jonathan can be valid. Thank you very much.